And welcome everyone to the Voice of College Football at Miami. I'm Jaden Gonzalez, and this is our new call-in show. This is something new that we're doing here at the Voice of College Football as we are 10 days approaching game week against Notre Dame. We just wanted to create a new way for you guys to, you know, take your opinions. We're the ones that are talking all the time, so we want to hear what you guys have to say. So I'm excited to do this. Most of the time it will be me and someone else. I'm not sure who that is at the moment, but for now it's me running the show. And yeah, what you guys have to say. I will drop the link in the chat. All you guys do, click on the link, and then let's talk some ball for a little bit. All right, sounds good. Um, yeah, so the link is now posted. Anyone wants to join, talk, whatever it may be. Yeah, let's do it. This is something new. So give me a little bit of a break. This is something a little bit different here. We're gonna try to do this every Thursday. Probably not at this time, probably a bit later in the day most of the time. But this is our very first show. So let's see how everything goes. So just click on the StreamYard. People are gonna, whatever take you got, please. I'm willing to hear it. Could be anything. Could be anything about anything because of Miami football. As we are 10 days from week 1 against Notre Dame. Big game for the Hurricanes, and we're all excited. I've said my piece, and Mark and Cam, they just said their piece for the last hour. We got shows running up and down the line Monday through Thursday. So whatever you guys got to say, let's hear it. I also have a show on Mondays at 7 p.m. Me and Shay McDonald, we run Miami Hurricanes Primetime Live. Please check us out over there. On Wednesdays, as you know, are Cam and Mark usually, as they'll be there next Wednesday. And we're going to try to do every Thursday, me, someone else running the call-in show. So whatever you guys got to say, any take, any opinion you guys got, I'm ready to hear it. If not, no worries. We can always do it another time. Maybe we'll work on the dates a little bit or whatever it may be. So yeah. There's some big updates since I last went live on Monday. Obviously, Notre Dame, new starting quarterback, CJ Carr. Notre Dame picking CJ Carr over Kenny Minchey, which I think is probably the better move. I think it makes sense for Notre Dame. He's the guy that they think has more potential for them. I think he's the guy that they think can make some deep ball throws to some really good receivers they have. The guy that they can maybe rely on a little bit more than Minchie. I do know at least what they keep talking about, that the way that they decided on it was very close, like a 50-50. So regardless, I think it gives Miami a big edge, a big opportunity for Monday night or for Sunday night, because they'll have whoever it will be. I've seen his car. Could see some Minchie at some point, but we might, what we're going to see is CJ Carr entering a really hostile environment, Hard Rock Stadium, on August 31st, and that's going to be a challenge for anyone, but especially for a redshirt freshman that is real first start, like against a legitimate team, is at Hard Rock Stadium on a Sunday night. It's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be fun, but that's one. It's definitely something that Miami has to look forward to over the course of the for that game. I know if you look at the two teams combined, I would argue they're pretty comparable. Notre Dame definitely has the running back group with Jeremiah Love. They have a great DB, one of the best in the country. But then other than that, you can look at Miami and you say their O-lines are kind of comparable. Notre Dame has a great O-line. I think we have a great O-line. Receiver group, they probably beat us. We have a great receiving group, but we're still trying to figure that out. We haven't really seen it yet on the field with Beck at quarterback. And same with the defense, that the defensive back room. I know that we made a billion new changes, and I love what they have or what they're building, but we don't know exactly what they have. And Notre Dame has proven to have a very solid defensive group. But again, you guys want to I want to hear you guys, what you guys have to say. So please, please, please let us know. Willing to hear anything. Anything that you guys want to say, please let us. Please let me know. Join the StreamYard link. Great, I'm excited to hear it. Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Jaden, what's going on?
Nothing much. How about you?
Doing all right. I'm doing all right. Just thought I'd pop back on here and talk a little Miami with you for a few minutes while we're waiting for some calls to come in. We just finished up a show with Cam Underwood. So everybody, when you're done here with Jaden, just check on back and check out our show that we just concluded here just a few minutes ago. But stay on here with Jaden and give him a call here. The link is right there in the chat.
Yes. Any takes that you guys want, 10 days out from week 1, please. We want to hear what you guys got to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how confident are you feeling about this? We just looked at the point spread and Notre Dame's a 2.5-point favorite.
I mean, I like Miami's odds with CJ Carr at the quarterback. I know it's a good move for Notre Dame. I mean, of the two guys that they had to choose, but I think it's one of Miami's biggest advantages that they have a redshirt quarterback kind of coming into a really hostile environment week 1 at Hard Rock Stadium. It's going to be tough, and I know that I think that's going to be a big advantage for Miami. And if they can slow down the run in any way, I think that it can easily give Carson Beck a chance to, show what he can provide. If the defense plays, if they play average defense, at least what they didn't play last season, the team has a legitimate shot to beat anyone, and that includes Notre Dame, that is, has CJ Carr at quarterback, but is probably going to rely a lot more on Jeremiah Love.
Well, I guess for a defense that got torched continually, especially in the secondary, but it's been completely retooled. So it's to try to compare the back seven on the defense, especially the secondary, is just pretty useless. But they didn't create turnovers last year.
Yep.
So we'll see if this secondary is able to, maybe come up with some key turnovers, and especially with a young quarterback coming into a hostile environment for his first start.
Yeah, there's a ton of potential that the defensive back group has. I love what Chuck Brantley can provide, or what Xavier Lucas and OJ Frederick come back for another year. Damari Brown. It's a good group of defensive backs, but we haven't necessarily seen them on the field yet. So that's one thing I'm a little hesitant on. Once we see them on the field, and once we kind of figure everything out, or how they look under the Heatherman system, I think that we're going to be able to kind of gauge where they're at as a defensive group. And it's a good test of, how they look against CJ Carr. If they can make CJ Carr look afraid, if they can make him make a lot of bad throws, whatever it may be, to at least, to change the game, that could be a big help, not only for week 1, but for the rest of the season, is what we're looking at among the defensive group.
So we just got done talking expectations for this team. So what's your barometer in terms of a breakthrough of, okay, this is acceptable, this is where we need to reach, versus this is not?
I think they have to make the ACC championship game. As much as I want them to go 10, maybe if they went 10-2, but their 2 losses were to ACC teams and they're knocked out of the ACC championship game. That's, to me, is a loss of a season. Even though they would beat Notre Dame and UF, which 2 incredible wins, I need to see them in Charlotte playing against a top ACC team. I know a lot of people want to beat UF and Notre Dame as much as I do as well. But when you're kind of looking at it from what gives Miami the best shot at making the CFP, it's the ACC route. And if they have a 10-2 season, but their 2 losses are to Notre Dame and UF, but they make the ACC championship game, they beat Clemson, they get in right away. And I'd prefer a season where Miami's in the CFP over a season where they're not, but they have wins against UF and Notre Dame.
Yeah, it is kind of a tricky equation to try to figure out maybe the best route, because if, let's say, 10-2 is what we're working with here, maybe the best outcome for Miami would be to show that they could beat somebody good outside the conference. Because if the ACC plays out the way most people expect, not just from the standpoint of who's going to win it and who's going to be second, third, fourth, but also just the quality of the entire league. It's looked upon right now like Clemson's a sure thing. Miami's probably a sure thing as a top 10 or 15 team. And then after that, you kind of drift off into Louisville should be decent. Maybe I'm missing somebody. SMU
Yeah.
is in the preseason top 25, but that it's a pretty thin league. So on one hand, if you grab the two big non-conference wins, but who is this team not playing Clemson in the regular season? Who would they lose to in 2 games? They're probably not going to be very good looking losses, going, maybe Louisville comes in and maybe Louisville wins 8 or 9 games. So that's not a horrible loss. But then the other one would have to be a pretty
maybe an
nasty loss.
SMU or one of the road games to end the year. So which is that's part of my concern that as much as I want them to beat Notre Dame and UF because they're great wins, but if they lose, they have 2 really bad losses within their conference. The committee, as we know, is not very ACC favorable. So that you then kind of leave it up to the committee to basically say, I know that they did beat Notre Dame and UF, but they have 2 bad losses in a conference that is pretty weak comparable to the SEC and the Big Ten. Maybe we don't let them in, and then they bring in one of the other SEC teams. So that's kind of my concern that I know that the committee is not really, they're not big fans of the ACC. So at least if you win your ACC championship game, they have nothing they can really do. That's just you kind of controlling your own destiny. But it's a great point that if you lose to Notre Dame and UF, no one really takes you seriously, that your other wins are just ACC games.
Yeah, again, no Clemson. Florida State probably not going to bounce all the way back. Yeah. Maybe they're a 7-5 team, and if they lose the 2 outside the conference, well, obviously, then they're in the ACC championship game, and like you say, then they're playing for nobody can make a decision on them. It's out of everybody's hands. They've played themselves in automatic qualifier versus if they lose a 3rd game in the ACC championship game, there'd have to be chaos all over the place for them to still get in. Maybe the best case scenario would be that Clemson's the number 1 team in the country and Miami takes them to the wire.
Yeah.
And they still, that in a sense, I know not everybody looks at that type situation the same way as I do, but I almost consider that to be better than most wins. Almost any win on the schedule that would almost substantiate that they are a playoff team if they played that kind of game in the ACC title game.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a line that you're kind of looking at. And I think a lot of the reason why I keep thinking 10-2 is like kind of the barometer where I think Miami will be. So it's just a weird spot to say, because Miami could obviously go 11-1 or 12-0, but the expectation, at least that I have, is 10-2. And that it's kind of like, how does that 10-2 look? Is it non-conference losses? Is it conference losses? Is it one or the other? It's kind of like, how bad are the losses? And then the committee kind of decides from there.
And then you have the other thought that whether they admit it or not, there can be more recency bias in looking at how the team's playing. And if their trajectory is going up and there was a loss to Notre Dame by a field goal in week 1 and there's a loss to Florida, again, that brings into the ACC championship game. Let's say they split those 2 games and then they lose one in the ACC and they get edged out on if Clemson goes undefeated in the ACC and Miami loses to SMU and they're both 7-1, they're going to get edged out.
Yeah.
But the trajectory's going up. That's another thing that some people take into consideration.
Yeah, you don't want what happened last year where you lose 2 of your last 3 games against Georgia Tech and against Syracuse to kind of end it. And unfortunately, the way the Miami schedule looks this year, 7 straight games after a bye week, FSU bye week, and then 7 straight games with including 2 road tests in the Northeast, is not favorable for Miami. So there's a world where you can see them as trap games or games that Miami can easily lose just by the fact that they're big games, any given Saturday kind of games.
Falconer TRX, appreciate you being here. Thanks for the super sticker, man. So Falconer shows up for our OG Miami show on Wednesday nights. And again, we just concluded. We usually go on Wednesday nights. Came Underwood and myself, but this week we did a Thursday, so we got a little back-to-back action for everyone.
Yes.
So I was hoping that we'd carry our crowd over there from the 1 o'clock show, but so we do appreciate you, and got the link in the chat, everyone. So it's right there.
Falconer is also a member of our Monday show. Me and Shay
Nice.
loves showing up, loves talking ball with us. Great guy.
Absolutely, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
If I had to, Jaden, fill out the starting 22 offense and defense for week 1, how many spots would you have trouble thinking of? Not necessarily that you don't know who the players in play are, but we don't know yet who the coaching staff is going to deem the starter against Notre Dame.
The toughest one for me has been wide receiver 2 and 3. There's a lot of speculation around how they work after CJ Daniels, a wide receiver 1. Fall camp, at least they talk very highly about Malachi Tony and Joshua Moore, the 2 freshman guys, even Dalen Upshaw. You're also hearing things about, JoJo Trader and Keelan Mary and all those, and Tony Johnson, all those kind of guys. They're probably the toughest to me because I'm not totally sure how the coaching staff kind of looks at them. I've heard a couple good things about, I've heard great things about Malachi Tony, and I could see a world where he is potentially that slot guy paired, next to CJ Daniels, and then maybe even Joshua Moore, or if JoJo plays. So there's a lot of moving pieces what they have there, and we're not really privy to that kind of information of what we're going to see until we see it week 1. There's a world, in my opinion, where we can see Malachi Tony, getting reps against Notre Dame, or even, I'm not sure, maybe a JoJo Ray Joseph or Nye Carr, someone like that. I think there's just a lot of guys there, and I'm not totally sure who the guy will be that kind of takes that step up and is the guy over there.
All right. Well, Jaden, I just wanted to pop on, say hi, get your take on a few things.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I know there's not a lot going on right now, so might do this for a little bit longer, and then
sure.
We'll see.
And so do you expect to do this every?
I would like to do it every Thursday. Looking for another, whoever that's going to be next to me most of the time. We're still figuring that out. So, but yeah.
Yeah, we are. Need to get that squared away so you're in a good place. Want you to be in a good place here on Thursdays. But we're looking at Thursday at 2 Eastern, everyone. So for those of you that are on the line, mark that down in terms of your Miami lineup here at the Voice of College Football every Thursday with Jaden at 2 Eastern. Yes.
Could change, but we're still figuring all that stuff out right now.
All right, Jaden. If I don't see you in the meantime, enjoy the big game, and maybe it'll turn out like 2017. We'll see.
I hope so. Thank you
All right,
very
man.
much.
Thanks.
Bye. And Falconer, I want to say thank you again for the 305. 10-2 wins with wins over Notre Dame and UF is better than others. I agree. In my heart, I want to beat Notre Dame and UF. In my mind, those are games that I'm looking at every day. I'm saying we have to win those games. Rivalry games, there's games you want to win. I'm in 100% agreement. But there's also a piece of me that kind of looks at it, and you say Miami's wins Notre Dame UF. Say that they're 10-0 entering week 11 and 12, and they got Virginia Tech and Pitt, and say Miami drops both of them. To the way that the committee is kind of operated as of late, they kind of see it as, in a negative light, that Miami plays worse towards the end of the year. Although they have the 2 big wins, maybe they don't even make the ACC championship now. Maybe they don't even qualify. Maybe they're third again to like a Louisville and a Clemson. So then you're trusting in the committee again to be like, hey, can we get in? And they say no because of SEC bias or Big Ten bias, where a 9-3 South Carolina makes it over us. That's my concern. The only concern is that the committee kind of screws us over. I'm not afraid. I mean, I really think a win against Notre Dame and UF, those would be two like preseason top 15 wins, including a top 5 win. That in alone, as long as you don't lose more than 2 games, should get you in. But the way that the committee has handled things as of late, we don't know. We have no idea kind of how they operate. So it's definitely a weird way of kind of, I guess, thinking about it. But yeah, it's always that's kind of the one thing that I look at in terms of how you want to look at Miami's schedule. And in probably in a realistic world, they split Notre Dame and UF, and then they win. Maybe they lose one game in conference, and that should set them up for a ACC championship game, which would be a very, in my opinion, probably an ideal season. Probably just hitting the goals of that Miami should have. I think Miami's should be thinking. I think 10 wins should be probably their minimum compared to because of what happened last season, and they got better defensively. I know they got worse offensively, but they got better defensively. And now you look at it and you're saying this is probably Mario Cristobal's most complete team. 10 wins probably should be a minimum. And if they don't get anything over 10 wins, if they get over 10 wins, it's a very good season. It's a college football playoff season. You know, that's a postseason season that Miami has that you can look at and you could probably think pretty highly of. But if they have any less than 10 wins, I think right away you can say that you're going to start looking at Mario Cristobal and saying, you know, can he win the big games? Can he do his job as a head coach? Can he lead these guys? Can he lead this team? So it's definitely you're kind of walking on a thin line in terms of what your hope happens, what you don't hope happens with the course of the season. I mean, from anyone, you want to win all 12 games. I'm looking at Miami. I'm saying that because I know how Mario Cristobal is, they probably won't win all 12 games. And I think that with the way that they have a 12-team playoff, that's okay. You don't have to win all 12 games. But you would like to control your own destiny as much as you can control what you can control. And that starts with winning all your conference games. If you win all your conference games, there should be less concern about your out of conference play because you're playing well against in your own conference. You're controlling that route that can get you into the college football playoff. I mean, think about it last year where they won their non-conference games. They played great ball. Obviously, you could tell that they were struggling at certain points and that something was going to happen, that they were playing with fire a little bit, and then they lose to Georgia Tech, and then they lose to Syracuse, and then they're out completely. So it's a tight line to walk on. It's an interesting thing to kind of look at, and it's something that there's a lot of concern. I mean, there should be concern over it, but I think it's a positive that Miami has such high expectations. As someone that has only seen them for a while, it's hard to really tell how we look. So, how's it going, Chris?
Hey, how's it going, Jaden?
All good, all good. How about you?
Doing pretty good. I got an interesting scenario for you. So, I'm not a Miami fan, but historically I've been a little too high on Miami. In fact, I had Miami in the playoff in 2022.
Oh wow!
They did not come close to that, but TCU actually made it. So I knew there would be a surprise team, but obviously missed the mark. So yeah, I've been a little too high on Miami, so I'm a little bit, I guess, cautious going into the season. But yeah, I did all my predictions, and I do my predictions, and then I go through and see what the standings would look like and the tiebreakers and all that. And it came out really, really interesting. So Miami, for me, I've got them losing. Again, don't come after me here. I got them at 8-4, but I've got them losing to Notre Dame, Florida, SMU, and then Pitt in the last game of the year. But they won the tiebreaker, and they got in the ACC championship. So I actually have an 8-4 Miami team in the playoff because then I had them winning the ACC championship and a rematch with Pitt. Because I'm actually really high on Pittsburgh.
Really high on Pitt. I mean, I can see it. There's a world where I think where that could happen. I am concerned over Notre Dame and UF as much as I believe in Miami to win. Notre Dame and UF are very good teams, and those are games they could easily lose. You said SMU as well.
Yeah.
That's another road. It's Miami's first game out of the state of Florida. That's also not an easy game with the way that Kevin Jennings has played. I can see there is a world where I could see 8-4. I don't think it's necessarily bad. Would I be grateful for an 8-4 season in the playoff? I guess. I guess I would. I know. I mean, the way that social media would be pissed, and I know that the committee would probably be changing the way that they be looking at conference titles with an 8-4 Miami and over, some other team. I know that they would be upset when an SEC team gets left out over
Right.
an 8-4 Miami team. I'd be okay with it because I want to see Miami in the playoffs. I do. But I think, yeah, I'd be okay with it. I know the committee would be very upset.
Yeah, and you also would have to worry about if you got 4 losses, potentially even a second group of 5 champion getting in there, which I don't think that would happen
Yeah.
because Miami's schedule, because I think they're going to be competitive in all those games. I don't think they're going to get blown out by anybody. So I don't think, I think just looking at the eye test, I don't think the resume would be bad for Miami because I think SMU is going to be good. I think Pitt's going to be good. I think Florida and Notre Dame right there in the playoff conversation. So, yeah, I don't think that would happen, but that would definitely be interesting if like 2 group of 5 teams got in and then the ACC champion did not get in.
It would also set up Miami for a 12-5 matchup that they would probably get blown out in, which probably wouldn't be ideal.
Yeah, for my predictions, no, actually, I've got them at 11.
You have a group of 5 as the 12.
Yeah, because I just don't think there's going to be a group of 5 team that's going to like be undefeated or anything like that.
Okay.
So I actually have Miami at 11, and a little bit of a surprise team playing Texas A&M.
Oh,
which would actually be a winnable game.
I mean, it's not a bad matchup, but you do have to go into College Station to play that game. I mean, it's there's a world for that, and I guess I could see it. I would not be. I guess in that world, I'm not sure how happy I would be if Miami, because I in that world I imagine Miami would lose that game, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's a pretty bad season. You go 8-5, but you get a playoff berth, but then you get you lose to A&M. I think it's hard to kind of look at that and kind of be positive because I mean, if 4 losses, I know you say that we're going to be close in all those games. If you lose the 4 really good games, or 4 against probably 4 of their 5 toughest opponents, or 6 of their toughest opponents, and you lose 4 of them, that's a pretty bad season to lose those kind of big games, especially when 2 of them are your biggest or some of your biggest rivals, and then you lose to Pitt the last game of the season. It's kind of a deflating season overall.
Yeah. Well, if you just asked me like, who would you put in the ACC championship? If I didn't have to go game by game, I would probably put Clemson and Miami. But Clemson's another team that I've been too high on. So I had them at 11-1, and then I was like, I've been too high on them every year. Can I really trust them? So I wound up putting them at 10-2. I still thought, well, they'll probably get in. But then as I looked at my predictions, I'm like, wait a second, I've got these other teams, and so it was kind of chaos.
I do think Clemson will be that kind of cream of the crop in the ACC. I think it will be that the way that they say predict is Clemson 1, Miami 2. I think it probably does stay that way, but there will be maybe not a surprise team, but like people are very high on Louisville this year. I know you mentioned you're high on Pitt. That's another. There's a couple of teams you could maybe say that ACC is not as bad of a conference as the way that people are treating it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got several teams in there that will be, borderline or possibly top 25. I think, Louisville will be pretty good. Pitt, again, I'm high on them. I think SMU is going to be pretty good again. Duke is a team, I don't know, really not hearing a lot about them, but they're going to be really good on defense, and they're very experienced. So that's a team that could be at least borderline top 25. And then maybe NC State could be decent as well. So
I'm very high on. I think Duke's going to have a very good year. Miami doesn't play them, so I didn't actually really think about them. But that's another team. I've always been high on Georgia Tech, mainly because of the way that they played against Miami. But Georgia Tech is another team. So I think the conference, at least maybe because I'm right next, I see the conference. I'm always watching the ACC. I am pretty high on the conference. I know that anyone else that watches college football probably won't say that because of how good the SEC and the Big Ten are. So it's like you can kind of say, oh, the ACC is going to have a good year. But when you look at it, like the committee and everyone else that kind of really tells you about the conference, they might not at all agree.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think they're really on that level, but I would say at the bottom, like if you go top to bottom, maybe the Big 12 is a little bit deeper. But if we took like the top half, I think the ACC will definitely be better than the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, well, if you take the top half, yeah. But I think the Big 12 will have a lot of very good teams, and the ACC is just like in the middle of like you have a couple very solid teams, and then you also have the Wake Forest, the Stanfords, the Cows, you know, of the world. So
Right.
it will just continuously kind of dissuade people into believing that the ACC is, you know, a decent conference, and it's also going to just push people away from saying or giving Miami credit for their strength of schedule unless they beat Notre Dame and UF.
Yeah. Yeah. One final question before I go. Carson Beck. So obviously 2 years ago looked great. Last year had his struggles. How do you feel? How do you predict his season's going to go this
I'm
year?
gonna say I think he's gonna do in between his 2 seasons. At the last season was pretty bad. The year before was very good. I think he goes in between. I think he'll have a better year than he did last year because of the teams that he's facing at a minimum. The SEC defenses that he was facing were, you know, they were very good. He played against UF, he played against Bama, he played against Texas. All these, you know, some very good to Ole Miss. All these very good SEC defenses, and the toughest game and one of his best games was against Georgia Tech, an ACC team. So I guess when you look at it from maybe, you know, this season with playing some lesser defenses, I think he will play better ball. I think he might. I think he fits well with the Shannon Dawson system. My only concern right now with him is how well he gels with the receiving group. If he can figure that out, I got to see at least how he plays against Notre Dame. But he's got to start gelling there. At the end of the day, I'm hoping that the run game and the offensive line is so good that we don't have to compare Carson Beck to the way that Cam Ward played, because then if we did, then it would be about how Carson Beck has to try to be a hero all the time. But if the running game and the O-line's great and it's paired with some good Carson Beck, then I'd be pleased with that. I'd be pleased with a season where he plays solid football, doesn't do too much, lets the run game kind of control everything, and then his play action works, or he makes some nice throws over the course of the season. I'm not expecting anything near what Cam Ward did last year.
Yeah.
Nothing near it.
Was he 100% healthy for day one of fall camp?
I believe so.
Okay.
Well, so he is healthy. He is definitely healthy. He's got his receiving group. He loves the running back group. Looks great. The line looks great. The receivers are probably the biggest concern that I have. So he will have lesser talent there. I mean, his best season with Georgia had Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey. So he obviously doesn't have that. So last season, Arian Smith was his best receiver, and that's not it. This season, having CJ Daniels as his best guy is not ideal, but I have some optimism that he will have a better season. Obviously, he was dealing with some injuries as well, and then he injured the UCL. So I have a lot more optimism, I think, than I did at least when I saw him last year.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the key, really, in terms of how far they go. Obviously, the defense, you know, how much better are they there? But if he plays the way he did a couple of years ago, you know, I think Miami's in a really good spot to get.
If they're much more balanced than they were last season, because last season was all we're going to score 40 points and hope that they don't score 40 points, and then maybe this season it's going to be a lot of kind of controlling the ball, playing well on offense, and letting your defense kind of do handle their own. I think if the defense plays average football or slightly above average, and the offense plays I don't know, still top 30, I think that's a season of Miami probably making the playoffs with the way that would kind of turn out.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for taking my call.
Thank you very much, Chris.
All right. We'll see you.
Yeah. See you. I'll be probably on for another couple minutes unless someone has a call. Again, first time doing the call-in show. Appreciate anyone who's tuning in for this. Definitely a little bit new for me, but we're excited. Again, Notre Dame's right around the corner. College football begins this week, and that is the best feeling in the world where football is back. Love football, love the sport. We're kind of being teased right now, but as we get closer and closer, we'll be right there. Like football season's right there. The NFL season's coming soon. Like this is prime time. And we're just waiting. We're hungry. We're getting ready for it. Cannot wait for August 31st. I will be in attendance, hopefully in the press box, and that's gonna be a game, right? It's gonna be a great game right there. But if no one is here, I guess I'll wrap it up. Please tune in every Thursday. We'll work on the times. But thank you guys, whoever showed up. Please follow me, Jaden A. Gonzalez on Twitter. And also check out my work at the Miami Hurricane newspaper. Again, student on campus, student news, student reporter, student doing this, getting in this business. So any help count or any support counts. Appreciate all you guys who tuned in, and I guess I'll see you guys next time. Peace.